going to give you the first one. And if you're taking notes, I hope you can read my chicken scratch. Sorry, this should be it. Medicaid expansion will always hurt the truly needy. When you think about Medicaid, we've probably all had some personal interaction or not, a family member or someone that we know that's had an interaction with the Medicaid system. When you think about Medicaid, you think about the aged, the blind, the disabled. You think about single moms that are struggling to make ends meet. You think about pregnant women. You think about poor children. That's not who we're talking about when we talk about Medicaid expansion, Arkansas Works, whatever you want to call it. And by the way, just a brief side note, don't call it Arkansas Works.
Thank you.
Okay, don't call it even private option. It's Obamacare, it's Obamacare Medicaid expansion. That there's power in that word, there's truth in that word. That's what it is. And I think we cede a lot of ground to the other side when we sort of get into this semantical argument. Again, we go to their turf and we call it Arkansas Works, or we call it private option, or we call it, in other states we see Healthy Utah and Healthy Tennessee, and all of these distracting, untrue, basically, words. It's Obamacare. So I'll throw that in for free. But when we think about Medicaid, we talk about the truly needy. That's not who this program is. And in this state right now, we have nearly 3,000 people that are on Medicaid waiting lists. You don't hear a lot about them. You hear a lot about the PO. You hear a lot about Obamacare and the 300,000 people that have been added to Medicaid expansion. But you don't hear a lot about those 3,000 people that have intellectual and developmental disabilities that are on the waiting list right now. There's thousands of them. We know of several. One in particular that you'll see if you got one of the brochures on the back. Her picture and a little bit about her story is on there. Her name's Chloe Jones. She lives in Walnut Ridge, right here in Arkansas. And up until about 2013, the state was paying for her medication. She has cystic fibrosis, and without this very expensive medication, the doctors say she won't live past the age of 40. Well, the state Medicaid board came in and said, sorry, your medication's too expensive. We're not going to pay for it anymore. Some people would call that healthcare rationing. And in the meantime, what we were doing during that same time period, while folks like Chloe were being denied life-saving treatments, we added 300,000 able-bodied people to Medicaid expansion. 300,000 people. Thankfully, after several years of litigation, Chloe's been able to get her medication back. So I do want to say that, thankfully, she was able to get her Medicaid benefits restored. But I think the point that we've got to take away from this is, that's messed up. I mean, that is a serious case of messed up priorities when we're adding 300,000 people who are all able-bodied. They're not children. They're 19 to 64 years old. If they have disabilities, they have to go into traditional Medicaid. They can't go into the expansion. These are two separate groups of people. And what we've done is we've added 300,000 people who are now competing for resources, competing for taxpayer dollars, and they're taking them away from folks like Chloe and those 3,000 that are on the waiting list, not getting the resources that they already need. The second thing I would encourage you to remember and ask your lawmakers about is every penny of the federal money that's being spent on this program in Arkansas and across the country is all national debt. You don't have to take my word for it. The federal government says it's all national debt. There's no funding stream for the Medicaid expansion. So we've spent billions of dollars on the program. We'll continue. The projections initially were that we'd spend $20 billion on the program over the first 10 years. Could end up being more than that since it's been over budget every single month. But you're talking about billions of dollars, and by the way, we already have close to, and I know you all know this, $20 trillion in national debt. So at some point, you would think maybe that's enough. But what we're doing here in Arkansas, and I hear guys in the legislature and the governor and other states all the time, they're against the national debt. And thank God that we have a balanced budget amendment here in Arkansas, because we balance our books. We don't do things like they do in Washington, D.C. And if I was in Congress, I would vote to stop this reckless spending. But the problem is, they can stop it. They can do something about it. They can do something about these billions of dollars that are being added to the federal debt because of the Medicaid expansion. And that leads me to my third point, which